Well, good evening, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Big Ten Mafia here on the College Football Mafia family of networks. I am joined tonight by Becky Go Huskies. Sergeant Pickles will be joining us a little later. He had to run some errands at the end of his workday, so he will be here in about 15 to 20 minutes. But until then, I think Becky and I can hold the fort down. How you doing today, Becky?
Good, doing good. Good for a Monday.
Good for a Monday. That's what I like to hear. Debuting the Maryland hat tonight, the old Maryland Terrapins. It was either that or that ugly flag design. I went with the Maryland Terrapin design. Give me the turtle. Yeah, give me a turtle any day of the week. Yeah. I don't want a flag. Give me a turtle.
I feel like that's that turtle that would fight like Godzilla or whatever back in the day.
Oh, Gamera. Yeah. Space turtle. There you go.
Yeah.
So it was a busy week in the Big Ten, especially rivalry week here. Let's start off. I want to get everybody caught up on our College Football Mafia family picks. Week 14 results. It's getting interesting, getting really interesting. Rock and Rant is one pick ahead of you, Becky. He had a 3-5 week. He is at 60-52. You were right behind him at 59-53. You had a 4-4 week, which was the best of anybody, really. While you did similar, but this is still up in the air. We are picking 9 conference championship games this Friday, guys. Definitely tune into that. That'll determine who wins between the College Football Mafia family. Very close race, 60, 59, 55, 56. Moen is mathematically eliminated. There's no way I can catch up, but possibility that one of these 5 people is going to win. And 2 of them are hosts right here on the Big Ten Mafia, which I appreciate that. I think that goes well for us. But
well, I mean, you're a busy person, Mo, and you're already like top level. Like you're a professional gambler anyway. So
yeah, well, yes, I'm not successful at it. I'm not good at it, but just for reference, when I wasn't picking against the spread, I finished second in the CFB rivalries pool that he did this year. So.
Well, you're not mowing the cooler, so we've got that.
That's true. I do have a little bit better percentage than Greg Flugart, so there is that. Let's say hi to some people. Hello or hi. Daniel Gygax is first in chat saying hello, everyone. Good to see you, Daniel. Catch Daniel tomorrow night on the Big 12 Mafia show, right here on the College Football Mafia. That show starts at 8 p.m. tomorrow night, 8 p.m. East.
I was hoping in the house. I was hoping they'd come on tomorrow. They'd be like, "Oh yeah, we had chaos, and we ended up with TCU and West Virginia in the Big 12 title game."
I have to say this: Rock and Rant all this past week, he was praying for chaos, and it was fantastic because chaos struck and Syracuse beat Miami. He got exactly what he wanted.
He got what he asked for.
Ricky Tungate's in the house. Big win over Purdue. You were finally the straw that broke the camel's back, and Purdue has fired Ryan Walters. Congratulations to the Purdue administration for finally figuring out that it wasn't going to work with Ryan Walters. Let's go ahead and give him a round of applause for his
Who'd have thought it would have taken losing by 60 to your in-state rival?
Yeah.
To like get you fired.
Just a terrible season for Purdue, but they get a chance to rebuild now. I still like Jason Candle out of Toledo as a head coaching possibility there, but I'm sure they're actually going to take their time a little more and look for an offensive-minded coach.
I hope they find somebody who's like shown success in rebuilding, kind of like what Nebraska did when they brought in Matt Rule. Like he has rebuilt programs that struggled and he's turned them around. So I hope they do something like that, where it's like, hey, this guy has success and has done this in the past, been able to flip the script and rebuild a roster and get the roster kind of churning. So
I would agree with you, but for every one of those, Matt Rules, you have a Neil Brown, did very well rebuilding Temple and just could not get it done in West Virginia. So
Yeah.
I will say for Jason Candle, I watch a lot of MAC football. I enjoy the action. Jason Candle's done a stupendous job.
Hey, who knows? Ryan Day might be available. So
I tried pitching him. I've been pitching him to everybody who's losing coaches. West Virginia, Purdue, no takers so far.
No takers.
Tony Lawson says 10-year rebuild in Madison.
Oh, no.
I don't think that's going to happen, Tony.
I don't think you get 10 years.
Yeah, I think Fickle. We talked about this in our group chat, but Wisconsin's schedule next year has got to be one of, if not the toughest schedule in America. It is literally killer after killer after killer.
It feels like what was it? Florida's this year.
Yeah,
and Florida handled it well, but only because teams fell apart. God, what do they have? They have what? Alabama, Washington, Michigan, Ohio State, like Oregon. Like they've got the gauntlet. So
yeah, it's tough. Les Austin Jr. is here. He says the words that shall not be uttered on this show, at least not by me.
Go blue.
Yeah, let Becky Go Husky say it. She doesn't.
Go blue.
She doesn't have the hate.
We get to talk a little bit about that blue.
Oh yeah, we're gonna talk.
The boys in blue anyway, not the maize in blue.
We're gonna keep it family friendly tonight. I went off last night. Go back and watch Mowing After Dark if you want to get a little less family friendly reaction to Ryan Day and my thoughts on that.
Epic. But we do have to talk about what the boys in blue did to the guys and the boys in maize and blue.
Yes.
Like,
PSU Jim is here. Good to see you, PSU Jim. You're welcome, by the way. Ohio State losing put you in the Big Ten championship game. Hi, all. Shout out to the Wolverines. Tough, gutty win against a better team.
Yeah.
We'll talk about it.
We'll talk about
it. Scavin, yes, says, I feel your pain, Mo. And yeah, it's tough losing to Iowa. But you're bowl eligible. You're going to a bowl, which is a big deal for Nebraska. So you do have a silver lining to that gray cloud, but Iowa has the Heroes Trophy for the next year. And then he follows it up with, hello, people, go Big Red. West Virginia will take Ryan Day off your hands. Brown went 37-35 in the 6 years there. 30 cents on the dollar.
6 years?
Yeah. Neil Brown was there a while.
Oh, I thought he was only there like 3 or 4.
No.
Ooh.
He got a couple leeway years where he did decent, and they extended. He was almost like they did with Scott Frost.
Well, I mean, he only got to come back this year because they were so good last year.
Yeah, well, they were just good enough last year.
Yeah, like and they didn't improve this year, so it was kind of like, okay. I understood it. I just thought he'd only been there a couple of seasons. I don't know why. God, when did Dana Holgerson leave? He really did leave there. He really did leave for Houston 6 years ago.
Yeah.
Huh.
And now he's out at Houston, and he's in Nebraska.
Yeah, well.
Matthew J. Kipp, good to see you, Matthew. Go Ducks. Thank you for coming in here. We had a Michigan fan come in here, and then we had an Oregon fan come in here.
Are we going to see a Notre Dame fan tonight?
No, I don't want to let that cat out of the bag yet. Nebraska lost their DC. Yes, they did. Yes. Tough loss heading to Florida State. We will talk about that. I think West Virginia just interviewed Koltelnicki. I think he probably ought to wait, see if he's got a better option. And it's nothing against West Virginia, but
no, I think he's going to have options because he's been
another one. Another one I think Purdue should take a long, hard look at.
Yeah, agree. I think Purdue should stick with some of the guys inside the conference if they can. Guys who know the conference, guys who've recruited well in the conference and stuff like that. I think if they go outside the conference, I think the guy at Toledo is the best choice.
Yeah, Jason.
He's recruiting against the conference.
Yeah. He's only 31 years. I think he's only 31 too. I think he's pretty young coach.
He's young.
Scott Frost to the Buckeyes. No, I want somebody from Ohio State in there.
I heard a little rumor that he is interested in going back to Central Florida. So there is that.
Oh, UCF, yeah. Well, he took him to that
Saw that
undefeated
today.
season. Not a bad idea.
Not bad.
Matthew J. Kipp says we'll take Ryan Day here in Utah. You can have him. You'll never beat your rival. Just as long as you're aware of that. You guys got to play BYU every year now. So you will never beat BYU with Ryan Day as your head coach.
No.
Daniel Gygax says 9-4 last season.
That's what I was saying. Like, he had a great year last year, and they weren't better this year, and they returned most of those guys. So
yeah, it was a little bit of a train wreck this year, and it wasn't helped by that last game's performance.
No, that last game was bad.
All right, let's start breaking down the games from last week. We won't have a lot to preview this week in the Big Ten, but we will have a lot to break down as rivalry week. I love the thing about the Big Ten is almost all the rivals play on the last week of the year. All those trophies up for grabs. Starting first with Tony Lawson's Minnesota Golden Gophers putting it to the Wisconsin Badgers. Wisconsin, first time in 23 seasons, I believe, they have not been bowl eligible.
You know what is his motto there in Minnesota? Row the boat, right?
Yes.
I'll tell you what, this was like rowing the slowest boat I've ever seen in my life. This was the slowest blowout I've ever watched. Ever.
These men are both disciples of Jim Tressel. And they do not like each other. They do not like each other.
No. And it shows. And, you know, like, this was the most boring game. But it was like, oh, God, I can't stop watching it because Wisconsin's still in it. Like, it's 21-7, and you're like, oh, they could score 2 touchdowns and be right back in this. They could get 10 points in this quarter and be right back in this.
And it was insane that Braden Locke just could not throw a pass to save his life in the first. Then in the third quarter, he throws the most beautiful pass to the end zone.
Yeah. He couldn't throw a ball longer than I think like 6 yards or something like that. And it was like, you might as well just run the ball, guys, because you suck at both of this right now. No, and then on the flip side, Minnesota's defense just stepped up every single time they had to step up and get a stop. But like you said, fourth quarter rolls around, and Wisconsin quarterback looks like Tom Brady out there.
For one drive, anyway.
After that, I'm like, okay. I mean, at least like young quarterbacks go, oh, there's glimpses. The dude literally gave you a drive.
Yeah, I'm not saying anything negative about the Minnesota defense, but Wisconsin's offense is just bad. Just bad. They I understand why he brought in Phil Longo. He wanted to modernize the offense. They never got the personnel to run it properly. Didn't work out. He fired Longo. He's got one more year. I think if they don't improve next year, he's gone.
You can't miss a bowl game next year. Yeah. Like, they have to make a bowl game. I think they have to win 6-7 games minimum. And good luck finding Wisconsin fans on that damn schedule. Like,
it's going to be rough. It's a bad schedule.
Yeah, yell at your AD for scheduling Bama. Yell at them for that. Like, like, if you're going to schedule Alabama, you got to do it in a way that it's neutral site. One-off, like a one-off neutral site.
Yeah.
When you're in a rebuild, like, negotiate out of that.
We talked about it, that emotional defeat to Oregon. Wisconsin's defense, I know 24/7, it looks like it's a blowout, but their defense played very admirably in this game.
Good.
It's just,
to put it in perspective, I think I'm double checking here before I say something. Yeah, I mean, they gave up 191 yards passing and 183 yards rushing, but they were on the field. Minnesota was on the field for 35 minutes.
Yeah.
It's a 60-minute ball game. Like,
the offense could not get a drive going. It just terrible. I feel terrible for Wisconsin. I thought they would get bowl eligible. and you'd have another bowl team out there, but not
I
happening.
picked Minnesota, but I legit thought the game would be tight, and Minnesota hadn't beat the crap out of anybody. This was the Minnesota. If you watch Minnesota, this is what you get. They don't blow you out. They just beat you, and they just beat Wisconsin.
Yeah,
I mean, there were no turnovers in this game, not one. And the penalties 5 for 45 for Minnesota, 7 for 62 for Wisconsin, but Wisconsin had 37 yards rushing on 23 attempts. They threw the ball 32 times.
Yeah, they couldn't throw the ball, and the defense knew to just, they were going to go for a run.
They averaged 4 yards per throw and 1.6 yards, 1.5 yards per rush. Like, no offense to Minnesota fans, your defense isn't that good. No defense in America is that good.
Yeah, and you got to give credit to Minnesota. There were probably 3 games this season that they should have won.
Should have won.
That North Carolina game where they just couldn't make a field goal. Yes. The Michigan game where they got the bad call on the recovered onside kick. There was one more out there. It might have been Nebraska.
I'm looking right now because I'm trying to remember who it was.
Penn State. PSU Jim saying it was Penn State.
Yeah, it was Penn State. They should have beaten Penn State. That was the other one-score game, and they lost that one by a point.
So very possible Minnesota could be a 10-2 team right now.
Yeah, we could be talking about Minnesota being in the playoff.
Yeah.
Like that easily.
I don't know the bowl projections yet, but I would say this: it's a Minnesota team that I don't know I'd want to go face in the bowl season.
No. That is a tough Minnesota team. Like, they're good, and I don't think they're gonna have guys opting out. I think they're all gonna play, and they have a great team coming back next year, from what I see. So he's doing something there. It took him a decade, but he's doing it.
Well, if you talk to our friend Greg Flugar from Peek Around the Corner, he will tell you he's an old enough Golden Gopher to remember when they did not have 7 and 5 win seasons.
No,
it was terrible. He is very happy at 7 and 5. He's happier at 8 win seasons. He's happier at 9 win seasons. PJ Fleck is probably never going to win you a Big Ten Conference championship, but he can beat his rival. Some coaches can't. And he does get them bowl eligible.
Yeah, I'm hoping they'll play Washington or USC in a bowl game, because we could see that. We could see that because of the bowl tie-ins this year. But how crazy would that be to watch USC and Minnesota round 2?
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. For everybody who didn't know, the Pac-12 teams that came over from the Pac-12, they have to.
We're contractually obligated to fill the bowl games this year, next year. So.
Yeah, next 2 seasons. So this season and next season. How you doing today, Pickles?
Can everyone hear me?
We can hear you, Pickles.
Yes, we can hear you.
Right on. Yeah, sorry, I had to drink enough liquid courage to get up the nerve to talk about the beatdown my Huskies took from Oregon. So I'm here. Hello. No, it's okay. What did I miss so far?
You didn't miss much. We were just finishing up talking about Minnesota-Wisconsin game from Friday. The Axe is back in Minneapolis. We don't know what Wisconsin's going to do next year, Pickles.
No. We're trying to find 6 wins on their schedule, Pickles, because we think Fickle's gone if they don't win 6 games.
I'm definitely in hot take land that I thought Fickle might be gone this offseason, depending on what other coaches come available. It's probably not likely, but that's why it's a hot take.
Well, here's
look
the
up what his
thing.
buyout is. He's got a buyout.
Ryan Willie told me his buyout. Per Ryan Willie, it's $33 million.
Oh, that's pretty big.
That's huge.
That's big for the majority of schools. Yeah.
I mean, that's big for everybody. I mean, even like the Ohio States and the Texas A&Ms, they would have to call their boosters today to be like, hey, can we get $33 million?
Yeah.
That would take a few weeks to raise, unless you're, again, Texas A&M and you just are tired of losing.
I mean, that's true. When your NIL is 20 mil, 33 is no small chunk of change.
Nope.
But
Definitely.
yeah, Minnesota got the axe, and I was kind of listening along a little bit, Becky. Yeah, I think you're right on. This was like the slowest, most plodding, slow crawl blowout I've ever seen. And yeah, Wisconsin, I don't know what to make of you at this point. I think they're going to have to do some big changes if they want to step it up next year.
Yeah, I don't know. I tend to agree with Becky. There's not 6 wins on the schedule next year.
Yeah.
There's just not. So.
Yeah, between Bama and their conference games, I know it was pretty brutal when I looked at it before. But congrats to the Golden Gophers, the Fighting Flugars, the Tony Lashins. You get the axe again. And now to the no handshake game, which I'll give you my opinion on that. But,
well, there wasn't a very friendly handshake in this game either. So
No. This one, though, the disrespect right away by Nebraska. I like it.
Man, we are on such opposite pages because to me, that's like.
Oh, I like it on a trash talk level. I don't like it as it's disrespectful
that's like
hell.
Bush League level. Like, this is Division I football at the end of the season. Like, shake your opponent's hand. Come on now.
It's rivalry week, Pickles. It's rivalry week.
Hey, we shook Oregon's hand, and we knew they were going to hand us a butt whooping. So I'm just saying.
Oh, yeah.
But you might have missed the earlier part of the show, Pickles. You lost to the number 1 team in the country.
That is correct.
Okay.
That is
you
good.
didn't
It
lose
doesn't
to
matter.
a 500 team at home. So,
Mullen, you should know this. It doesn't matter what the little number is next to their name. I only care about that stupid big O and the Duckies. That's all that matters to me. I don't care how good they are, how bad they are, how many wins or losses they have. I just want to beat them, and I wasn't real confident.
Right. Earl Carr leaves us a super chat. Thank you, Earl Carr. Much appreciated. In honor of Moen, #Fire Ryan Day. Yes. If there's any more openings, I will definitely tweet out to those football programs and try to get them to take Ryan Day off my hands.
Yeah.
Nebraska at Iowa. This is a tale of 2 halves. Nebraska up 10 at the half. Get absolutely shut out. Iowa, in typical Iowa fashion, scores 10 points in the 4th quarter. Won a game-winning field goal as time expired. I think it was like a 54-yard field goal as time expired.
Yeah, it was a long shot, that's for sure. I watched the very end of this one.
Yeah. This was a good game. This is a really, really good game. And in typical Iowa fashion, let's play defense and then special teams, but we'll let the offense turn it on in the second half. That's all this was.
Well, I mean, as much as we want to shit on Iowa Hawkeyes on this channel, they're 8-4.
Yep. They're 8-4, and they've had offensive explosions.
That's their MO, right? They don't put up a ton of points with the exception of a couple games, but then you see games like this and they go 8-4. That's what Iowa does. They just do Iowa things.
I don't know what it is. I guess I'm a glutton for terrible football, and I watched this game.
Embrace the Big Ten spirit, Becky. You're already there.
And look, this is after I went Black Friday shopping and passed on a Coach purse that was 95% off. Still mad at myself for that. But I did watch this whole game, and I loved it. I thought everything was great about this game. Everything was great about this game. If you like old-fashioned football, this was your game. Both teams just ran it some more. And, Iowa couldn't, get but 49 yards rushing, guys. They ran that ball 26 times and only had 49 yards rushing. But they ran it and ran some more.
I will
say,
they
threw the ball 15 times.
Yeah. It wasn't, I wouldn't say it's so much they were both futile on offense. I mean, Raiola had some moments, but what struck me is both D lines in this game are outstanding, like top 15, top 20 level D lines in the whole country. They're both really good. Yeah.
The difference in this game ended up being the 2 turnovers by Nebraska.
Yeah.
They were costly. The 2 fumbles were costly. But yeah, Dylan Raiola he's the real deal, guys. For a freshman, he is a real deal quarterback. I know I laugh and make fun of him because he's trying to be. There's no trying. He's like 100% a mini Mahomes in his universe. If he starts eating ketchup packets, I'm going to call it. But like he's the real deal. And if Nebraska can keep him there for 4 years, if this kid just takes the next step, and I think he's close, guys. Like he is close. Nebraska they're going to be fine. Now they have to find a new defensive coordinator.
Yeah.
What do you think of that, Mo? Defensive coordinator leaves for, of all places, Florida State.
Yeah, it doesn't shock me, really. I mean, strength of with Nebraska's game this year was their defense. Yes, Dylan Raiola could throw the ball up, but I'm more concerned about their offense. Are they going to keep Dana Holgorsen as their OC? Is that going to become permanent? Because I think basically Dylan's calling the shots on that team. If he wants to stick with Dana, he's going to let the coaches know that I want to stick with Dana Holgorsen. If he doesn't, Dana Holgorsen isn't going to have a job. And unfortunately, that's not the way it's supposed to be in college football. A freshman quarterback shouldn't be telling you how to run your team, but when you're paying the kind of money they're paying Dylan Raiola and the threat of the transfer portal, that's how the offensive coordinator is going to be determined.
Yeah. I mean, like my questions on Nebraska, Pickles, you know this, their defense the last 2 years has been not their problem.
No.
Their offense has been their problem, right? So for you, how about for you? Do you see the defense coordinator leaving? Do you see this as being maybe a small issue? And where do you think Nebraska would go to fill that void?
I don't know what names would be out there for them to fill the void. Not as well versed on coordinator jobs as some. I would say Nebraska. I mean, I think the Big Ten is going to slowly change over time where because you have teams like Oregon and Ohio State that have skill outside, it's not going to be like a complete 180 in style. You're still going to be a physical run the ball conference, but I think you're going to see more speed and skill. And that's what I would worry about. Can they pivot and recruit those kinds of players? Because they obviously pivot the D line well enough to compete with anyone. And I think they're going to start getting burned if they. I don't know how prominent a recruiter their DC was. Is my real question. If someone can clear that up in chat.
By the way, he's a really good recruiter.
Yeah. Okay. I think if they want to keep the momentum and really get the best out of Raiola, as you're hopefully taking that step forward, you got to be recruiting and adding in the portal because 6 wins, like bowl eligible, you can drop the jokes, but like compared to the hype at Nebraska and what that fan base kind of demands, I mean, that's their pro team in that state. They want, they have better expectations, especially in an expanded playoff. They want to be teams that are in the mix. Real quick shout out to got some friends stopping by. I know I saw Steven Vitt, our OHIO, not state, but just Ohio friend. How we going? Is Ohio in the MAC championship? Did I read that right?
Miami of Ohio Red Hawks against the Ohio University Buckeyes.
I think I was going to send this. I was going to send this in our chat. I saw it, and it was like that Squidward thing, and it's got Ohio State over Squidward, and then SpongeBob and Patrick are Ohio and Miami, and they're like, we made the conference title game.
Yeah.
No, sorry, Mo. It was funny. It was funny.
Hey, look, ain't nothing I can do about it.
Yeah, Tony Valeshin saying big will never change. Run the ball, stop the run. That'll always be true, but you see what speed and skill does for you at teams like Oregon and Ohio State. It kind of elevates you to that next level.
Or you have speed and skill on the outside, and you run the ball anyway. And you run.
We're gonna get to it. We're gonna get
80%
to
of your
it.
plays. You run the ball into the strength.
A gap only.
Can someone forward that memo to USC with Woody Marks, please?
They're an air raid. They're different. They're an air raid. But let me say this:
he's really good, though. Woody Marks.
He's really good. But let me say this: the four teams that came over from the Pac-12 pretty much made it known, like, we can throw the ball all day on you guys.
Yeah.
You can run it. That's fine.
Washington with a better offensive line. I mean, in several games Washington lost, I think both Rutgers and Iowa, they put up more total yards than their opponents.
Yeah, Washington just needs to fix the line of scrimmage guys. And that's it.
But I digress. Wrapping up on Nebraska, Iowa. Nebraska, you've got Dylan Raiola. You made the bowl game. Use that bowl game as a proving ground for the guys you want to play next year. And that DC hire is definitely going to be critical for maintaining the standard you guys have, especially on like the D line. Because Tony Blashen's right. You know, as much as the conference evolves, you're still going to run the ball and stop the run to win in the Big Ten. All right, Moen, let it rip.
Again, if you didn't catch my feelings last night on Moen After Dark, I highly suggest you tune into that. It was a little not safe for work, so I wouldn't suggest playing that around anybody who's working or with children, or Ryan Day can't get it done against Michigan. Could not score in the second half. Terrible play calling. Michigan's got two defensive tackles that are probably first-round draft picks. They might be late first round, but I think they'll both go in the first round. And you decide to, with your backup center, run the ball A-gap. About 70% of your plays in that game. You've got the best wide receiver room in the country. You didn't target Jeremiah Smith at all in the second half.
Best wide receiver group in one of the best wide receiving groups in the nation. The best corner in the conference did not play.
Yes.
Best corner in the conference. The thing that stood out to me on this, this kills me, the timeout. Trying to take a timeout after a timeout because how do you come out of a timeout with 12 men on the field? Somebody explain that to me. Like, I have seen stupid penalties from Washington this year. Guy ran on the field mid-play to celebrate with his teammates. But that's a coaching mistake. That's 12 guys on the field. That's a coaching mistake. That's not a player mistake. You had 12 guys on the field after a timeout, and you tried to call timeout again, but you can't do that anymore. Like that's an NFL type rule where you can't call back timeouts. Like, I don't know what they were thinking. All you had to do is just say, hey, look, you guys are on the field, you're off. Like, the lack of communication between the coaches and the players is bad. Like he said, you're running A-gap, which, cool. You know who ran the ball down Michigan's throat this year? Oregon, Washington. Yeah. Do you want me to keep going? They didn't. Jonah Coleman's 5'9", 225, 230 pounds. Washington didn't run him up the gut for like 4 times. James at Oregon, same thing. 5'10", 215 pounds. They didn't run him up the gut. They got on the edges. You have to get to beat Michigan. You got to get on the edges and get there. Ohio State has 2 of the best running backs in the damn country, and you're not running on the outside. You're not getting to the edges. You're going up the middle, up the middle, up the middle. And then to top it off, your quarterback's made 2 mistakes, costly in the red zone with interceptions. You can't have that. They made way too many mistakes to win this game. And that's, I'm not even an Ohio State fan, but I was frustrated watching the damn game. Like I don't know what they were doing. I just sat there like, when that game was over, I was shocked.
Listen, he's doing it, but he's doing it behind a patchwork offensive line. You've reshuffled this offensive line 2 times in the last 4 weeks. You would think you would have enough sense not to run at Michigan's strength through your weakness. I can't, guys. I got to shake my head. It's a Ryan Day problem. It is not an Ohio State team problem. The defense played lights out. I think if they'd actually let the offense be aggressive and try and go out there and win the game and not to lose the game, they probably would have won that game. They should have won that game. This is the worst Michigan team I can remember since the Brady Hoke era.
Let me say this. The thing that killed me the most, Michigan ran the ball 41 times for 173 yards. Now, they won the game on 10 consecutive runs. That last drive to take the lead, 10 consecutive runs. They did not throw the football.
Becky, Oregon State, is that you?
Yeah, I'm serious. Like, if I was a Duck fan, I would have PTSD. Like, oh my God. They ran the ball 10 straight plays to beat you.
Yeah,
you can't let a team do that. I don't care who you are. You cannot do that. And then to top it off, that drive would have been over had you just not had 12 men on the field, by the way.
Yeah.
That's the drive.
In my opinion, at that point in the game, the defense and the D line were just kind of worn out. They had been put on the field too many times, back-to-back situations. I honestly thought when Sawyer got that goal line interception, I thought that was what was going to turn the tide for him. It felt like it. That felt like the moment of the game where, okay, Ohio State's going to drive down and at least get a field goal, but they're moving the ball. I honestly think the bulk of this falls on Ryan Day. Anyone blaming the kicker, I don't really see that. Like, kickers do weird stuff. Sometimes they miss and you put them in maximum leverage positions, but the kicker's not why you lost. I think Howard wasn't good enough when he needed to be. No. And I would put him position number 2 for why this. He missed some wide open throws. I get the line was letting him get hit a few times, but you're Ohio State. You can get nearly any quarterback under the sun. This is the dude you picked, and he's not good enough. And I honestly, between Michigan and Ohio State and now USC, their quarterback's moving on after kind of a so-so season. I'm not real convinced on these transfer quarterbacks. Like Washington, Will Rogers, he's okay. All-time leader in the SEC. Like, I get Cam Ward is the exception. Yeah, Cam Ward at Miami might be the exception, but I'm just not seeing a lot of consistency from these transfer quarterbacks. So Ohio State, you're recruiting 5 stars. I just saw it come through my feed. A 2027 5-star quarterback is already announced for Ohio State. I mean, who knows in years from now if that actually comes to fruition, but you got guys that are talented coming to your program. Like, you need to develop, I think, at that position a little better.
Yes. No. So I just want to say one final thing here about it, and then we'll move on because I definitely want to talk about that Washington-Oregon game.
Oh, Lord.
Oh, my God.
Michigan was playing without a quarterback. I literally told my friend down on campus, Ohio State lost to the one-legged man in an ass-kicking contest. That is literally what happened. And I don't want to put any blame on – listen, Will Howard has been very good this season, but you know what? They knew what play he was calling. That first interception, they knew right away what play they were calling. That's why that cornerback just jumped up and bid on it. Because Chip Kelly has ran that play at least 80 times this season.
He was supposed to be the solution, Moen.
Ultimately Ryan Day is the play caller there, even though he says he's not. He's the one. You would have to think at halftime he would have said to Chip, we need to stop doing so many. Boy, I don't want to say anything that I can't monetize the video. So we'll just move on to Washington and Oregon.
Yeah. Shout out to our friend Marcus Williams. If you're popping off now, I appreciate it. But she said he's just here to watch you have a meltdown.
He was there last night encouraging me.
Oh, okay. There you go. Yeah, moving on to the mighty Washington Huskies, looking like wee little pups against the number 1 team in the country. Becky, you first, because I'm still not over it.
No, I mean, as disappointed as I was, I'm like, kind of knew this was how it was going to go. I felt like an ass kicking was coming. It did. No, I'm fine with it. Like, look, Williams he's a good quarterback. He's a freshman. He got sacked 10 times. He held the ball way too long at times. Patchwork offensive line essentially, because that's all we did this offseason. We didn't get the O-line we wanted. Oregon they're just a better team. Like, end of story. We can't stop the run. because we don't have the bodies in the middle after all the injuries. Can't rush the passer because guys are hurt. No, but I will say this though. When you walk out there on a season, you have 50 new players. 50. And reality, yeah, we're 6-6, but nobody saw Indiana being incredible. And we got in our own way against Rutgers, and we got in our own way against Washington State. This could easily be an 8-14. So yeah, I'm encouraged by it. They need to figure out how to win away from Husky Stadium. They've got to do it. Credit where credit's due with Oregon. Oregon was the better team. Period. End of story. Everybody knew it. Nobody was denying it. Anybody who was denying it is an idiot. But no, I mean the first half was great. They look good. Yeah. But
it was 28-14 at half, which given the circumstances, that's a respectable score. Mm-hmm. So by the way, I was encouraged by Williams, but man, it just felt like Oregon could move the ball at will, and that was pretty discouraging. I thought our defense I thought they would hold them to kind of the mid-30s. So I think they kind of gave up some easy ones at the end.
Well, like I said, the lack of a pass rush, Oregon was able to pick them apart because of the lack of the pass rush.
Yeah, 2 starting edge rushers out for this game.
Yeah. So no pass rush. He could sit back there. And the biggest thing with Washington that they've been able to do all year is they can cover. But you can't cover for 10 seconds. Someone's going to be open.
Yeah, our Duck friend stopping in. You get your roses today. I tip the cap to you, my friend. Handily beat us. I got nothing bad to say about Oregon other than you lack taste and style. But other than that, you're an outstanding football team.
Yeah. Can you guys actually wear your team colors?
Yeah, for once, please.
Jesus.
All right,
cool colors. Just.
Well, let me just
rainbow.
Let me say this about. I watched this game, so let me get my feedback on it. 10 sacks, guys.
Yeah. Yeah. That's been the issue all year.
Uwe Ongole. There will be a guy with the last name Uwe Ongole who will be a first-round draft pick. He's just not the 5-star quarterback that came out of high school.
No, he's the 5-star defensive end that came out of high school.
Yes. We missed out on him. That was another loss by Larry Johnson. Mm-hmm. Could have had him. Didn't get him. So
I want to point out that 4 Washington players are on the Ohio State roster.
Yeah. Well.
And yeah.
I just want to say that Oregon's the best team in the country.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, they had that game they struggled against Wisconsin, but other than that, in the first 2 games of the season,
So this has come up today. Would this year's Oregon team beat last year's Oregon team?
No.
No, I don't think they could.
No. I mean, no offense to Gabriel, but I think Nick's was actually better. I know Gabriel's got the legs on him and the experience, but I think Nick's is a better pure passer. And I think Oregon's receiving core last year was better. Bucky Irving was a handful. Oof. That dude's a load. And I get that they had Irving and James last year, and now they have James. So I think Oregon last year was a little better. Real quick, some of our Duck friends are hopping in chat and saying the audacity we wear our colors, and even Jimmy Otson knows. There was a tad of green around the numbers. Come on.
You know what that green was like? You ever seen the Seahawks jerseys? They just put the action green around the one little spots here and there. That's pretty much where the green was.
Come on, I get it. You got.
They look good. I like their jerseys. Especially the pink. I love the pink when they wear the pink. I'm like,
the pink's cool. Even the highlighter yellow's cool with the black, but those were not your best look. The black on gray, I wasn't a fan of it, and I'm willing to admit when Oregon's got nice uniforms. Wear the retros. Wear those old school green ones. Those things are so cool. You wore them once. Come on, get it together.
I was hoping they'd bust out the Webfoots for this one.
No, those are special.
Those who don't know, they broke out their old Webfoot uniforms from the 40s or something like that and got waxed 70-21 by Washington. So
yeah, going back, Jimmy Otson saying he thinks this year's team is smarter than last year's team. They're definitely more experienced. They had a lot of returning guys, but I think last year's was just better on pure talent.
I do also want to say they did take a corner from Washington, Muhammad, who was really good at Washington last year. He was not good on Saturday, and they probably should have kept picking on him.
Our field is green. Indeed, it is.
It is green. Oh, he's got the giant duck for his mascot there. His profile pic there, Moen. Did you see that?
So what'd you make of it, Moen, from the semi-neutral observer?
Yeah.
Well, like I said, 10 sacks. I mean, that's like a season's worth of sacks in a single game.
Yeah.
That was terrible. I mean, congratulations to the Oregon defensive line. That's the thing that I think makes Oregon better this year. I think they've got a much better defense than they did in years past. I think their defense is the real deal. They will get Tez Johnson back for the playoffs.
Oh, he played Saturday.
Yeah,
he did.
Okay, so
yeah, he did.
Yeah,
he
limited
caught,
snaps.
He caught a touchdown, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay,
I think he did. Yeah.
so yeah, I mean, I think that's a complete team. I see some people asking why the spread is only 3.5, and I will tell you why the spread is 3.5. It's played in Indianapolis.
Yeah, it's going to change it. It's indoors. It's a long cross-country flight for Oregon, and statistically, nobody's good traveling across time zones in this conference right now. Like it's not ideal. Like it's gonna. I think that's what neutralized Wisconsin against Oregon. I think that was part of it.
Yeah. Or Oregon statistically, I mean, obviously they've won, but statistically their closer games have been on the road.
Guys, they are flying out to Indianapolis on Thursday. They have to fly to Indianapolis on Thursday. Penn State will fly there on Friday. So it's a short flight for them, long flight for the Ducks. I will say this though, John Wilner brought this up, and I want to get your opinion, you guys. They're saying that Oregon should lose. He said that Oregon should
intentionally lose to get the 5 seed.
To get the 5 seed because it's a better scenario playoff wise.
John Wilner is the only person that plays 4D chess against himself and still loses. I swear to God. I've had it with him. I'm so sorry. I used to love his articles when he's a basketball guy. He
absolutely rips on Washington, Oregon, USC, and UCLA now. Like any chance he can, but
he's a hater.
But at the same time.
Listen, this is a terrible argument. I've heard lots of people make this argument. It would be better to do this. When Ohio State still had a chance to play in the conference championship game, people were saying, lose the game, it's an easier path. It's not an easier path, guys. You get a bye.
Yeah,
you get a bye.
Is the easiest, yes.
Anything can happen in that game. You say, well, we can beat the crap out of that team. What happens if your quarterback gets injured in that game? What happens if your running back tears his ACL? I mean, that's the negative of having that extra game, even if it's against an easy team.
I just said this. I'm like, what if you get stuck and you have to play a team like Arizona State who's hot? You don't want to play a team that's hot. Like Oregon. There's no guarantee Oregon gets the 5 if they lose, because Georgia and Texas are out there playing around too. Like,
yeah,
I don't understand the purpose of it. Also, if I'm Oregon, I want a month off. I don't want 2 weeks off. I want a month off, because they play the first game's December 20th. Then you're going to turn around and potentially, and I say this potentially, let's say you get the 5 seed, right? Well, if you were the 1 or 2, then you get to play in the Rose Bowl.
Yeah.
If you're the 5, you may be traveling to play Clemson in the Orange Bowl, traveling to Atlanta to play Georgia.
I honestly think it's a crapshoot. It's a crapshoot either way in that sense.
No,
I mean, win your games. Like a bye week will always be the better path. You know, even Jimmy Otson was agreeing in chat. He said, "Yeah, lose just to get one more game at Otson. Like, no,
not worth it.
You don't want that." Quick breaking news, unrelated. Brett McMurphy reporting Holgerson gets a 2-year contract to remain as OC at Nebraska. Makes sense. They look better when he came on board.
Well, then I think we can agree that Dylan Raiola is staying at Nebraska.
Yeah.
Look at that, though. $1.2 million.
Yeah.
A year.
Well, they've got money freed up from their defensive coordinator leaving. By the way, I want to put this name out there. I know he was a terrible head coach at Purdue. Ryan Walters is actually, at his time at Illinois, he was a good DC. He was a good DC. So maybe that's somebody that.
Some guys are just better as coordinators.
Yeah.
Moving on to Maryland, Penn State. And a related note, Keep Chopping says Penn State is a more explosive pass and rush game than Oregon. I'm going to have to disagree with you on that, my friend. They do not have as good a pass game as Oregon. They do. They don't. They're capable, but Aller, I think he's an efficient passer. But if he was,
we'll get into it.
We'll
get into it at the end.
We'll get into the championship conversation more and more, but don't underestimate how good Oregon's receiving core is.
I mean, do we want to talk about Maryland and Penn State? I think we should just skip to what happened after the game.
No disrespect to our Terp friends out there, but something needs to change. I actually think Loxley needs to go, and I don't think they're going to fire him. That's all.
What is their record now? What is
4-8?
4-8.
No. Like November and December is their Achilles heel or something like that. Like October, November, something like that is like their Achilles heel.
Maryland, I hate to break it to you. I'm going to be a little harsh. You have exactly one more conference win than the worst conference team I've seen in a long time in Purdue. You have one more conference win than them.
You know what's scary about Maryland is they played at Oregon, and if they were just a hair better,
they played okay.
Oregon. Yeah. Like I don't know what to make. I don't know what to. I don't know what to make of them. Week in, week out, this conference has its moments, but this Maryland team, guys, I don't know what to say about them. They 44-7. Like this game was over at halftime. Literally over at halftime. He put the 3s and 4s in the third quarter.
And got a bunch of crap for that, too.
Yeah, and I'll say this. Anybody who gets upset because a third or a fourth string player is scoring touchdowns on you, there's an easy way to not be upset. Your one should be better than them.
I mean, I did say you and I were talking about this in chat, and I think, not that Franklin was doing this, but I think the caveat to this, if you're still running go balls and trick plays with your 3s and 4s, like that's kind of Bush League. Like play a straight up game. Those guys deserve to go out and play some hard football, but you're not, trying to throw Hail Marys every other play with 3s and 4s. Don't do that.
Yeah.
I will defend him because they are a playoff team. You have to look at the fact that we're going to an extended playoff format. You might lose a receiver. So you want that 2s and 3s to actually have in-game experience catching deep balls. Now
he was already going to go 11-1.
I understand that. I understand that. But unfortunately, we have got back to the point in college football where style points matter. And yes, he kicked the crap out of Maryland. Maryland's 1-8 in the Big Ten. You're right. They're not going to fire Mike Loxley, and they shouldn't because this is Loxley's first losing season.
Well, and even though it's his first losing season, that I didn't know that off the top of my head, but that's a downward trend, and the pattern of losing in November and December continues.
Yes, it's true, but I have to go back and defend him and say you have to remember in November and December, this guy usually had to play Penn State, Ohio State, and Michigan.
I mean,
that is a murderer's row to play in November and December.
I know, but he had a different schedule this year and same result.
Yeah, well, his problem this year is he didn't have a quarterback, but they were so not Tua, but his younger brother Talia
Tagovailoa.
Yeah, he was transformational of a quarterback for him. He was really good. So I don't know. He will get one more year. I don't think they fire him. I just, who do you get that's better?
In Maryland?
Yeah.
I mean, if you're Maryland, you're going to recruit somebody to like be a head coach. You're going to look to the ACC, I would assume, because you want to get somebody who knows the East Coast recruiting grounds. And for Maryland, that's Ohio, Pennsylvania, Virginia, and you're not going much outside of that. Florida, North Carolina, South Carolina kind of recruiting. But yeah, I don't know if you fired him. I don't know who you could bring in that would immediately, one, pay dividends, and two, flip the program, because you kind of thought that going into this year you had, your quarterback from a year ago coming back, and you didn't have him.
Here's the thing. They've got rich recruiting grounds in Maryland. They've got the D.C. metro area. It is packed with talent. You've got Virginia. Virginia has lots of talent in it. And Loxley's been a decent recruiter for it. It's just maybe fire the OC. Maybe that's the plan. Get a new OC in there. You saw what Indy Kotelnicki did for Penn State, getting a new OC in there. Maybe get you a new OC.
Yeah, indeed. But, yeah, Maryland, I think you got to do some soul searching to move along. Penn State, you got Oregon to plan against, and I'm admittedly very neutral on Penn State. I'm neither for nor against, but I'll be pulling for you with all my might coming up this week.
Yeah.
All right.
The Shillelagh.
Yeah, the Shillelagh, the Big Ten rivalry that isn't in the Big Ten. What do you think, Moen?
Well, it's glad Notre Dame got the win. It's going to be one of the last times they play this rivalry, probably. So congratulations to Notre Dame. This was a good game until, it was 28-35. He threw one of the worst interceptions I've ever seen. I said it on the show last night. As soon as it left his hand, I knew it was getting picked off. It was a high-arcing, underthrown ball, and I was like, oh, my God, this is getting picked off. And sure enough, it got picked off. And that was when it really turned for the Irish. The Irish went up 42 at that point, and then it just kept rolling. I mean, USC couldn't keep up. And Miller Moss is transferring out. We found that out today. I think he has 1 year eligibility left. People are saying Michigan might be the place for him. We'll see. He wants to stay in the Big Ten. From what I am hearing, he wants to stay in the Big Ten. So
yeah, he wants to stick it to USC is what I'm hearing. He's quite annoyed.
Yeah, the rumored landing spots or contacts that he's had so far: Michigan, Iowa, and Louisville. I think I saw on there. There was one more I'm forgetting, but it wouldn't shock me. I don't know. USC and Miller Moss just never really seemed like a good fit. They had good moments. I mean, they had great wins, but I mean, I think maybe he was expecting Lincoln Riley to be the quarterback whisperer he is and him to be a Heisman contender. That's probably what he sold them on, is like, hey, all I do is make Heisman winners, and that didn't happen. So,
well, I mean, he stuck it out he was there before Riley. He stuck it out.
Oh yeah,
he waited his turn.
I'm totally forgetting he was not a transfer. That was Howard that was supposed to go there, right? And then eventually ended up at Ohio State.
Yep.
That's right. Okay.
No, Mayava came from UNLV last year. Mayava was at UNLV.
Yep.
He was really good at UNLV. I don't know. He's not a very accurate thrower of the football. Definitely not an accurate thrower of the football. Definitely at times they look bad. This game was absolutely right there for USC to win. And how is their season gone this year, guys? One mistake after another. I'm going to say it out loud. This is a 12-0 team. If they're not stupid with the football and they're not stupid playing football, it's a 12-0 team. I mean, the USC offensive line is actually pretty good this year. It's not their problem. They can run the ball. They ran the ball for 83 yards. Joyner had 83 yards on 10 carries. That's 8 yards a carry. Mayava threw the ball 49 times for 360 yards, 3 touchdowns, and 2 picks. And like Owen said, the last one was horrific. I mean, they got just their problem ended up being the third quarter where they just got waxed for 21 points. They gave up a 36-yard run and a 23-yard pass. And then, of course, the 99-yard interception return for a touchdown. Explosive plays keep beating this USC defense. Now, I think USC is in great hands. I think USC is going to be they're going to be a problem soon, sooner than later. They're going to be a problem again. But it has to take a little bit of time because they don't have the bodies yet. But Notre Dame, my God, this felt like a rivalry game because Notre Dame put their foot on the gas from the get-go. and just did not let USC score, did not let USC into this ball game until late. I mean, they were down. It was tied 14-14, then 21-21. And then it was next thing you know, it's 35-21, then 35-28. And then then the problems started relying. But I mean, 12-yard pass, 12-yard pass, 36-yard run, 23-yard pass, 10-yard plays, just beat them. Just constantly beat them. Like the explosive plays beat them. By the way, there were a lot more explosive plays than that, like just long runs and things like that too, that didn't score. But guys, like USC's defense still can't tackle. It's still trying to figure itself out, but it is far better this year than last year. And really, if I was going to say there was a playoff team that's suspect, it's Notre Dame. Not to be a fan, not to be a Big Ten homer, because I think that's stupid. But
their schedule is always
They're sus.
Keep chopping. I think hit kind of it on the head when talking about Miller Moss. Talk about a culture shock go from USC to Iowa. Right. Oh my god.
Right. Yeah, I don't think that'll happen.
By the way, Miller Moss was not a running quarterback. He was not.
No, he's a pro-style quarterback.
He's a pro-style quarterback. He's not the best fit for Lincoln Riley's offense. So
I could see him at Michigan. It wouldn't shock me at all, even though they got Underwood going in there.
Yeah, I think the reason he could go to Michigan is you want to sit Underwood one season. Let him
$10 million to sit on the bench. Heck
I understand that. But you can bring in Miller Moss, and then if you have to put in, Underwood for the second half of some of your early games, you can do that. But I think you're going to see next year with like Dante Moore. I think Dante Moore at Oregon is going to be very, very good next year because he sat 1 year under Dylan Gabriel. He learned the system. He was there. He was ready to go. I think some of the problems you're going to see with Dylan Raiola this year. Started out hot, had his struggles down the backstretch. I think if he'd have sat 1 year and had some experience, I think would have been better for him. But
I think there's obviously a few different ways to do it. Nebraska was kind of put in a position where they had to throw Raiola into the fire. I'm actually super excited that, like Darth Ducky, I was talking to this about other Oregon fans. I think Dante Moore versus Damon Williams is going to be an electric matchup, whether Washington's good or not, because they're just such exciting players. And although Damon Williams obviously started one game at Washington, he took snaps in every single game, if I'm not mistaken. And I think that was actually really good for him. So there's like pros and cons. Do you want your freshman to kind of tough it out in hard environments and learn the lessons like Raiola did? The caveat with Moore is obviously he's got experience before he went to Oregon. So, there's definitely growing pains. And Moen, it wouldn't shock me if you're right that Underwood sits for a year, rides that fat paycheck on the Pine Pony, and he's ready to go 2 years from now.
Well, do we want to talk about the Boilermakers?
Kurt Signetti just dropping the hammer, man, leaving no doubt to all them SEC talking people saying, oh, Indiana, they're one tough win. It's like, that 6-6 might as well be a 1-1 and just double birds right in the air to all the people.
I told you guys, how long ago did I tell you guys that Indiana and Penn State, sorry, folks, they're going to have to beat the crap out of some people. I said it.
Beating the crap out of Purdue, that's like beating up a disabled kid.
Yeah, Oregon couldn't do this to Purdue or chose not to. Ohio State couldn't do this to Purdue or chose not to. They put an absolute beating on Purdue. Like, I feel bad for Purdue. Who they beat this year? Was it Oregon State?
No,
they lost that game too.
Yeah, it was an FCS team.
No, in Indiana State. I had to look it up because I was curious.
FCS.
So they didn't beat anybody in the FBS. They beat me. Oh my god! Like, I'm sorry. Like, they should have fired their head coach a month ago. They should have fired their defensive coordinator 2 months ago. They fired their offensive coordinator. It didn't help. But I struggle with Purdue because they're so bad. They have the best safety in the damn conference on the team. People forget that. They have the best defensive player in the conference on their team.
I think without a really flashy hire, which I'm not sure they'll be able to make, the portal is going to be very unkind to Purdue. That's my guess, especially for players like him.
More than likely.
I know this is like tough to do, but if they're serious about like turning it around in short order, because it is possible with the transfer portal, you need a Deion Sanders level hype hire, because Colorado was floundering before Sanders got there, and then he's able to bring everything with him. That's the kind of jumpstart Purdue needs to really turn it around, at least without going through a 3-4 year long, slow rebuild.
They just need excitement. And Indiana got it. And,
Ducky, relegation game, FSU Purdue. Oh, Lord.
Florida State would dominate Purdue, guys.
Yeah,
I'm sorry. Purdue is the worst team in the Power Four.
Oh, man.
They might not just be the worst team in the Power Four, guys.
Yeah, there's probably some G5 schools.
There's a number of.
There's a lot of Okay, hot take that I am willing to say this for all my friends out there who are FCS enjoyers like I am. I think Montana State could take Purdue. They're the best team in FCS. They're the number 1 seed in the FCS playoffs. They're really good, and I think they could beat Purdue. The only place where they would struggle is those FCS teams don't usually have the beef on the lines, but they could score on Purdue. I'm certain of it.
Look, the only conference they'd finish in the top 5 is the Pac-12.
There's only 2 teams in the Pac.
Exactly.
I'm
willing to say that. Like,
man.
All right. Well, enough about Purdue and the old Oakham bucket. By the way, guys, that is the trophy they play for, the old Oakham bucket.
Yeah.
Purdue fans probably barfing into that bucket before they handed it over.
But can I just say out loud that this conference, like Washington doesn't play for one, but we have the best, as a conference, we have the best trophies.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like, they're great. They're great. I mean, God, even USC and UCLA play for a giant bell
that they repaint every time.
They repaint every time that they win it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Kind of nice.
I get this is hypocrisy because we have all these sweet trophies, but please, Oregon and Washington are not caving in on our no trophy thing. We are very, very hard and fast about this. So your Cascade Clash you kept bringing up during the broadcast, you can shove it. Moving on.
Illinois, the Fighting Illini, taking on the Northwestern Wildcats. Illinois, as Illini Ted put it so succinctly in chat, they beat up on the Nerds. Congratulations, Illinois. 9-3 season. Very good season for Illinois. Burt knows how to coach in the Big Ten.
Oh, my God. Darn.
Oh, yeah.
I will say this. The fact that Illinois is not moving up, it's a little disappointing that the AP top 25, they're at 21.
I mean, look at they're 9-3, and what has the media been doing for the last month straight? Trying to sell us all on these 3-loss SEC teams. Like, they play such a tough schedule. Go look at Illinois' schedule.
I mean,
it was not easy. Like,
somebody brought this
ridiculous.
up. Somebody brought this up with Illinois. Illinois is ranked 21st. Colorado is ranked 20th. Nebraska and Kansas beat Colorado. Do you want to know who beat Nebraska and Kansas?
Illinois.
Like, Illinois.
We all do the transitive property of college football, but you literally have 2 direct examples. It's ridiculous.
No. Illinois beat Nebraska. Nebraska beat the crap out of Colorado.
Yeah.
Like, that was not a close game, folks.
Yeah,
and Kansas was they said, screw it, we can't make the championship game, but we're going to make it hype for everybody else in the Big 12.
Hype and marketing goes a long way. It gets Colorado some extra spots in the rankings and probably gets their due to Heisman. So look at that. Well, but Illinois, this is a massive step forward. I would say Illinois to me is, I'm about to say something stupid because Indiana's the surprise team in the conference for sure. Illinois, you are a close second. That, huge step forward. You look solid. I think you were in every single game you played, even the losses. So, man, I mean, nowhere but up from here, honestly, for Illinois. I really don't know what else to say. I'd have to look at their schedule next year going forward, but they're a team to watch. I think is you put together 2 solid years like this, you're maybe like a fringe CFP contender.
Here's the thing I just want to put out there, and you guys can answer this. They gave up 28 points and 48 points to the 2 worst offenses in this conference.
Yeah. But they won though, right?
Yeah. But who gives up 48 points?
That was a rival. Okay.
Yeah.
I know it's a rivalry game. I know it's a rivalry.
Game.
Come on.
So
come on. Come on. That team struggled to score 20 on
Yeah.
Like they didn't even get 40 on freaking Illinois State probably. I'd have to go look.
Becky, I think Illini Ted's taking a subtle shot at us here saying they got a favorable schedule. Washington comes to Champaign.
Yeah, I would actually. So I'm going to say this. Not a lot of people realize this. They're trying to get 100,000 fans to donate $100 to
for the buyout.
To the NIL fund.
Sorry.
And there's a chance that about 200,000 people have already done it. So you guys can do some math. You can figure out how much money that. When I say that they're ready to say screw this, like the fans this year were like, yeah, this was a rebuild. You don't get that again. So no, yeah, like I have this weird feeling this guy named Bear Alexander may be in Seattle. I have this weird feeling that this cat from this edge rusher just left Mississippi Valley State. He might be here. And then there's this tight end that just left BYU who's already linked to Seattle. So no, we're gonna be pretty good next year.
I digress. We've gone off the. I do appreciate, Becky, as you know, having Stanford in our conference. Illini Ted saying that you beat the nerds. That normally you would think would apply to Stanford Cal, but Cal are also giant nerds. So
I just want to point out. I want to point out Illinois Northwestern didn't score a touchdown on us.
True, very true. But Illinois, solid season. You're going to get I want to see who they match up against in a bowl game because I think they can put the wood to whoever's going to be across from them. I think Illinois can really put in a strong performance. But moving on down to the first Snow Bowl of the year, at least in my eyes, and Michigan State was in it until they weren't. Kind of story of their season. That's all I have to say about that.
Yeah, Rutgers is Greg Schiano's done a fantastic job there. He's the only one I think that could coach Rutgers to this kind of success.
Yeah.
They've only got 4 conference wins, but that's a big deal for Rutgers. That is a huge deal for Rutgers. They are bowl eligible again.
Yeah.
Congratulations to the Rutgers Scarlet Knights. Michigan State, you're still rebuilding. The fact that you got to 5-7, shocking. The fact you have 3 conference wins, and I think one of them was a blowout where they blew out, or Iowa blew them out, but they blew somebody else out. Yeah. So, I mean, good for Rutgers. I told you to watch Rutgers at the beginning of the season. They went 7-5. I also told you to watch Illinois. They went 9-3. So, yeah, you're seeing more parity in the Big Ten Conference, and that's a good thing.
Yeah. Rutgers fan, keep chopping. I know. Don't take this personally, but I wanted Michigan State to win just to have another bowl-eligible Big Ten team. But Rutgers, deserving win. Like, Monungai just absolutely smashed them after kind of that first quarter. Aiden Childs making rookie mistakes. That's kind of been a common theme in the Big Ten this year is that you get rookie quarterbacks making foolish errors. Up and down season, but Rutgers, like, I don't know, Moen. I'm kind of right there with you. Is Monungai coming back? Do we know that yet? Is he still eligible?
I don't know if he's eligible or not, but I have to imagine he's probably a late second, maybe early third-round pick in the NFL draft. So
yeah,
he's among the best.
He's listed as a senior, so I don't know if he has 1 year or not left for the COVID year.
Yeah, that would have. I mean, if he is gone, That's going to be tough for Rutgers. But like you said, Shiano's a good coach. He's got the guys in there that believe in what he's doing. So onward and upward, I think, for both of these teams.
By the way, Rutgers, they beat Minnesota, barely beat Maryland, struggled last week and lost on the most boneheaded thing I think I've ever seen in my life. But they bounced back this week. Like, They could have caved. I mean, do we not forget how they lost last week? Like, that was stupid. It wasn't even a Hail Mary. They just guy hit a pass and ran to the end zone after the fake field goal. Illinois, it was a roller coaster season for Rutgers, but I like the direction that Shiano has them going. 7 wins. I think we said 8 this year, guys.
Yeah.
I think we had them go 8, maybe even 10 possibly. And reality, 1 possession games. Here you go. Nebraska, UCLA, and
Washington,
but they won Washington. They beat Washington. So they could have had at least, the only game they laid a major goose egg was UCLA, and then of course getting blown out at USC. But that was an 11 p.m. Eastern start time for them. I liked it. Oh, and the other goose egg, Wisconsin dropped 42 on them.
Yeah, keep chopping. Rutgers could add 9 or 10 wins or 4 and 5. Absolutely right. PSU Jim points out, Monungai wasn't healthy this whole year. They had a lot of midseason injuries. Yeah. Every team does to a degree, but he is the engine by which that offense moves. So, definitely, I think slowed their progress midseason.
Monungai had 1 touchdown. He had 31 carries for 129 yards. He was just good. He was just good. And by the way, Michigan State, first year under Jonathan Smith, after the disaster of the previous 2 seasons, they came back this year. I think 5 wins is really good for them. And I think Aiden Childs, I think he's going to be good. Like, he got better as the season went. He needs to take another step. But he has an off season now to get that figured out. I think he's going to be fine.
I'm calling it now. I think the quarterback play in the Big Ten next year will be the best in the country and have top to bottom. There's going to be some absolutely insane levels of talent. Some young guys that will make mistakes, but looking down the list, it's pretty incredible. Some of the returning guys and some of the high starred recruits. Side note to that, Mo, and I was curious. I saw Dark Ducky. Who's Ohio State's quarterback next year?
Probably Julian Sand.
Okay.
Aaron Noland is probably going to transfer out.
Okay. Kleinholz's transferring out?
I would imagine so.
Remember, he's the one that said he could have got paid more if he was in Washington.
Yeah, he can come to Washington.
Depend on who the coach is. Ryan Day and Chip Kelly are very high on Julian Sand. But, who knows? Maybe a new coach from another playoff team will be in Columbus soon. So.
Rumors abound. Tony Lashin, how did they beat Iowa so convincingly? Iowa doing Iowa things. I don't know.
I said, it's schizophrenia sometimes. You'll see, just like that Illinois Purdue game where they put up 48 points, but somehow they do. So
to me, looking back on it, that was the game when Aiden Childs executed to a very high level, completely cut away the mistakes. He's super talented. And that's why Michigan State has so much promise going forward. If he isn't throwing interceptions, isn't doing these wacky runs outside when he should just be throwing it away, Michigan State can be really good in the future. Moving on, is this the last one, Moen, on the slate?
Last game of the season.
Last and I will say least. No offense to Fresno State, but they're not as good as they once were. UCLA, slow, plodding game. They took care of it. UCLA starting running back has already entered the portal. That's a little rough. And I'm going to go on my mini rant about rivalries. Some other Big Ten friends disagreed with me. Penn State should play Michigan State, and Maryland should play Rutgers for the last game of the season. Penn State, if you want to be unrivaled, that's great, but you get who you get. You don't get to pick and choose your rival. And Maryland Rutgers is so much more interesting as far as a geography standpoint. And UCLA, figure it out and play Cal. Last game of the year. Just sort it out. You need to play Cal because I love that rivalry. That's my mini rant complete.
Yeah, UCLA won this game, but they almost did, and it was tied in the fourth quarter.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's that's UCLA all year. Tight game, and either win it or lose it.
I think after that Washington loss, the not bowl, the chances of being bowl eligible kind of went out the window with it. That it was tough for them because I think that's what they were fighting for down the stretch.
Well, they still had a chance until last week. They were 5-6 until.
Were they? Oh, okay, yeah,
USC beat them.
That's right.
In USC, that's a game that they should have beaten. They should have beaten USC. Again, USC was not great in that game. Like, USC should have blown them out, didn't, and UCLA just kind of let them off the hook.
Yeah.
This was a sloppy game. It was a kind of game. UCLA, they play well at times, and they get good quarterback play out of Ethan Garbers. I don't know if he's going to be there again. I think he has another year of eligibility, but I don't think he's going to come back. They are getting a new guy for their secondary. So,
yeah, and tying into the UCLA Bruins, this is kind of big news to Big Ten at large, but the Rose Bowl, complete overhaul. They're ditching the bench seating, which is why the capacity is going to be so much lower. Fancy suites, box seats. This has been rumored for a while by the Rose Bowl committee, whoever runs it. All expectation is UCLA will still play in the Rose Bowl, but it's possible they're going to have a purpose-built locker room kind of put together for them. So that I think will be nice. There's really no chance of an on-campus stadium for UCLA. They're kind of stuck with the Rose Bowl, good or bad. So
those who don't know, like Westwood is kind of cramped.
Yep.
A little bit, like where they sit. It's a little cramped area. Pauley Pavilion's not that small of a building, but it sits right next to the football facility, and people don't know that. Like, you can walk like in between. That's why they only have I think a half a field. They don't even have an indoor facility for football because they're just too cramped on campus. I like it. Look, this is Los Angeles, and they don't need 72,000 seats in a stadium like that because it's the Rose Bowl. You can charge whatever the heck you want, and people are going to pay it. But by adding in the field level suites, that is a huge LA thing. LA people love that. I think the Cowboys were the first team really kind of invest in that. And I know we have it at Washington on the east end zone. You can get a suite on the field. I like it. Brand new video board. Thank God. If you guys have ever been to the Rose Bowl, the video board is probably about the size of a TV. It's tiny. It's tiny. It's not a big video board. And for UCLA, 72,000 seats, they don't have to close off anything. They can just sell every seat. But yeah, I like it. And they're going to make their money hand over fist because we're idiots and suckers and we love that stadium. So we're going to pay to do it.
Yeah. Yeah. Mo, and I'm still pushing for, especially after a rebuild, I'm pushing for the Big Ten to alternate championship game sites. What do you think?
I don't have a problem with it. I think Indianapolis, Minneapolis, LA, there should be a fourth one in there, but I don't know. I think it should rotate every year between 4 sites. I think Indianapolis makes sense for the East Coast teams. Minneapolis makes sense for the Central teams. LA makes sense for the West Coast teams. Maybe if we expand one more time, we can put, it's got to be in a dome or it's got to be someplace with nice weather.
Well, I mean, that you could put it in Detroit. I know that's not known to be the fanciest of stadiums. It was built several years ago, but yeah, I think you're right. It either has to be good weather or a dome. With a championship game, you don't want that to be a big factor in who's winning, especially with playoff bye weeks on the line.
Injuries are a thing in weather.
Yeah.
We saw it last night, literally in an NFL game with snow.
SoFi. Put it in SoFi in LA.
SoFi would be great. SoFi, I really think we should do it, and it would be hilarious. I think we should go into Las Vegas. Just take it.
That's another one. It's
Wouldn't bother
take
me.
it.
Yeah.
Wouldn't bother me. But
Yeah, I know some
take it.
traditionalists are not for it. I'm not saying remove Indy from the rotation. There you go, Moen. That's your rotation. You get Indy, Minneapolis, Las Vegas, and LA. You just keep swapping them around.
Yeah, the only problem is you're going to have pushback against Las Vegas. They don't want the West Coast to have it too.
Which is silly to me because I bet you it's cheaper for a lot of Big Ten fans to fly to Vegas than to Indy or Minneapolis. The flights are dirt cheap.
I mean, it's
It
cheaper
is.
for us.
Well, we'll have to see if we expand again and who we get. We might, maybe be playing in South Florida
Yep.
South
on one
Florida.
of those sites. So,
But the championship games are upon us. The CFP rankings, I believe the final rankings come out tomorrow. Is that correct?
no, final rankings come out next week.
Or next week. Okay.
I believe it's on Sunday. This Sunday.
Yeah, they're going to come out Sunday. We'll find out the bowl games on Sunday.
Very good.
The big thing that comes out tomorrow is you're gonna see where the committee feels on those 3-loss SEC schools. We're gonna get a good feel on that. We're gonna kind of know how they're going with the ACC, specifically Miami, and how they view that loss.
Yeah.
And
The Miami, the Miami, Clemson, SMU, and then 3-loss SEC debacle is quite something. Quick shout out. This is one of my old school Duck friends. I've known him for quite a while. This is Exploring with Ben and Sam. He likes to rib on the Huskies, but he's a good dude. So solid win for you guys. I just got to say,
Well, let's talk a little bit about the championship game before we get out of here, guys.
Yeah.
Penn State, Oregon, Indianapolis. I'm rooting for Penn State. Sorry, Duck fans. I want Big Ten old money to win it.
Yeah.
And I know Penn State joined in like 1991, but
hey, they're older than we are.
they're older than these new West Coast teams. So I'd like to see them win it, but at the same time, I think if the Ducks win it, it gives us more teams in the playoffs. I think we get 4 teams in the playoffs. I think Oregon, Penn State, Ohio State, Indiana.
Yeah, I think this is great because Penn State's front 7 is ridiculously good. What's
numbers? I forget his name. Number 7, Penn State's edge rusher. His name is escaping me. He is a monster and will be a first-round pick.
Yeah, they have first-round talent at every level.
You're thinking of number 11, Abdul Carter.
Oh, is that it? Okay? Abdul Carter. That rings a bell. But yeah, he was in the backfield nearly every play against the Huskies and against teams that actually have.
He did it to Ohio State. Like he made Ohio State look foolish.
No, he's legitimate. He's legit. If you're wearing the number 11 at Penn State, you're legitimate.
You're legit.
Yeah. But he lived up to the hype.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to this. The strength of Oregon is running the football, not throwing, running. The strength of the Penn State defense stopping the run. Something's got to give. So I'm a believer that this is going to come down to the quarterback play. Oregon has the better quarterback. We can end all of that. But the big deal with Oregon, their quarterback is left-handed. So they're going to come off the right side of that offensive line. And Oregon's best lineman is the left tackle. So I fully expect to see them really coming hard off that blind side on Raiola. And I think he's going to end up having to run more than you would think. Like he's going to have to use his legs more than his arm this time. But
even PSU Jim saying PSU's issue would be scoring points. Defense is solid. I expect both teams to kind of be in the mid-20s. I think this is a one-score game either way. Man, I don't see either team really putting up a giant explosion of points.
Yeah. And I mean, like, you've got the best running back in the conference. He's in Oregon.
Yeah.
Like, and I've got somebody in there, Sam Kim, saying, oh, yeah, he's, losing respect because the Ducks' strength is not passing. No, if it were passing, Sam, you wouldn't have a quarterback with only 30 touchdowns. Like, you don't throw the ball that much. You run the ball down people's throats. Like, go look at the stats. Like,
it's not that we're saying he can't pass, but
No.
That's what we were saying as far as like the comparison to Nix.
Yeah.
He is not a down the field monster
Not a
passer.
downfield
Can
passer.
he be accurate down the field? Of course, but they want to swing passes out to the side, spread the defense out, hit you over the like Tez Johnson on slant routes and crossers. Like
I
can he
would.
hit
I
the
mean,
deep
their
ball?
receiving core is like, you know, like you can. There's the argument is who's better, Oregon or Ohio State's receiving core. That doesn't mean you've got the best passing game in the country.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean you do, because there are better passing teams than Oregon.
Yeah.
But they're not playing in that game. And
they pass it. They pass it enough to make your linebackers and corners spread out.
Stretch you out.
That's what
and gash you with the run. You have to respect everything that they do. And I give credit where credit's due. Dylan Gabriel is a really good quarterback. He is a great quarterback. Like is he a first round talent? I don't know. He's like 5'9", guys. But he gets out there. He makes smart decisions with the football. But the big question, like, you know, we're hearing from Penn State fans is, can we score? Can we score? I don't know. Like, that's the biggest question I have. Can they do enough to score?
Tyler Warren is probably the most dynamic player in college football. Tyler Warren for Penn State. If Oregon can shut down Tyler Warren, that's going to be bad news for Penn State. If they can't figure out what they're doing with Warren, that's going to be bad news for Oregon. Because I'm telling you, Tyler Warren, running back, a receiver, you know, I think he's played 4 or 5 different positions. He's just they used to call that one Cordell Stewart slash. This guy's slash. It's just so many different positions he plays at, so many things he can do for your team. I think Tyler Warren is going to be an issue for the Oregon Ducks.
Yeah. I just, the only common opponent that these two have that we can really like kind of look at is Ohio State. Like the Ducks gave up 31 to Ohio State. Penn State gave up 21. But man, it felt like Ohio State couldn't move the ball well at times against Penn State. But it, you know, the only reason I'm giving Penn State the reason why I'm giving Penn State the like edge in this game, travel, pure and simple travel. Like Penn State's only going like 300 miles, 400 miles, whatever it is, 500 miles. I don't care. Oregon's going like 1,800. So, like, that's where I have it, and it's tough to ask, you know, teams. Both teams got the rest of their guys in the fourth quarter. Penn State rest of their guys a lot sooner. But I think for me, that front seven for Penn State, they're going to be a problem for Oregon's offense at times. But I think Oregon has a better quarterback, and I think that could be the difference. But I don't know. I'm picking Penn State just because I think it's a 13-10 ball game, guys. I think it's 10. I don't see my points.
Couldn't handle it. Tony Walashon with a $2 super chat. Did we discuss how terrible Wisconsin is?
Yes.
We talked about it at the beginning of the show. Yes,
Tony,
you got the axe, Tony, but remember that axe swings both ways, buddy.
That's a double bit axe for all those out there in the know.
Wait, did what's his name do the thing on Greg's show?
Yeah, Ryan gave 20 memberships. Greg did not have to eat the cheeseburger. I was actually watching the live stream. Yeah,
we were all robbed.
Yes, Ryan actually gave him the memberships in like the third quarter.
I know.
That was a good bet.
That was a good bet.
I was ready to DoorDash the cheeseburger that I wanted him to eat to his house. So
we were all robbed of witnessing a minor miracle there. So I personally hold Minnesota fans responsible for that. I think it'll be close and down to the wire. Obviously, I have to pull for Penn State because I can never cheer for the Ducks to have anything nice in life. That's my mission as a Husky, and they would do the same for me. That's just our love language with each other. I do think it'll be close. I would be shocked to see a margin greater than 7. I really think it's going to come down to the last couple of plays.
I'm just like, guys are saying it in the chat, like, can Oregon handle a team that just bleeds clock?
Yeah.
Penn State's going to bleed that clock. 9-minute drives are not uncommon for Penn State, guys. They're not uncommon sites. They did it to USC. They did it to Washington. They take 8-9-minute drives. Like, they'll chunk you out.
Whatever Drew Aller lacks in the passing game, on a 3rd and 2 or 4th and 1, he can just fall forward or smash into the pile and get him the first down.
What is he, like 6'7"?
He's a big dude. He's a huge quarterback. And
lanky.
He's not necessarily the running prototype, but he can, in those short yardage situations, he can move the chains.
He can run. He ran the ball very well against Ohio State. So
he ran very well against us.
Yeah. So different kinds of mobility, I guess, is what I'd say between Gabriel and Aller.
I mean, with that, like, if Oregon does win that game, can anybody beat Oregon?
Yes. No, I don't see an unbeatable, unstoppable team this year. Everyone has strengths and weaknesses.
Yeah, this isn't like Georgia. I mean, I know it's not like Georgia from a couple of years ago where you're like nobody's beating them. I don't know. I'm like, I think Texas is good enough to beat them. I think they have the depth to beat them. I don't think they have like the secondary that could really like hold Oregon to like hold them down. And their quarterback's as fragile as a glass, cup, falling off a skyscraper.
Yeah, Jimmy Otson agreeing with me that he wasn't rooting for Washington against Michigan. So yeah, we understand it. That's just the hate we have for each other. It's mutual. PSU Jim Aller has gained 50 more yards on the ground this year. Believe it or not,
only 50 total.
I'm wondering.
I think he's saying 50 over Dylan Gabriel.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Well, Gabriel hasn't really. I mean, he leaves the pocket, but not like he did early in the year.
Yeah,
like,
Gabriel is
huge.
Gabriel is
Oregon State.
scramble.
That's like the biggest run of the year.
Yeah, Aller is scramble to probably tuck and go, and Gabriel is scramble to pass for the most part.
Yeah. Like that's the big thing. I think like that's why I keep saying like Gabriel. I think he's the better pocket passer, and I think he'll do that. But man, if Aller gets like in a rhythm, I do think this though. I do think the Penn State receivers are not good enough to handle the Oregon corners. So it's going to come down to whoever runs the ball better. It's just my opinion. Like,
I think Oregon can win it all this year. I don't put that out of the realm of possibility.
No, they can't.
Of course.
Ohio State. If Ohio State's actually playing the way Ohio State can, I think Ohio State could knock them off. Georgia's schizophrenic. You never know what Georgia you're going to get. So if they show up as the Georgia that can actually play their ass off, I think Georgia might be able to get past Oregon. But you're right. I think everybody else is pretty suspect in the playoffs. So
I'm just like I'm looking at the conference champs, the potential conference champs. So just do the top 5. So let's just say it's Texas. So Oregon, Texas, Arizona State, Clemson, not in Clemson, SMU. We'll say it's SMU, and Boise. Those are the top 5, not in order, clearly. I would take Oregon on a neutral field against all of them. Like they're going to be favored in every single one of those games, unless you're Josh Pate, and your system will have them ranked like behind, Texas, because that's what he does. But like even in then, I'm like, if it's Georgia, I mean, if Georgia has to travel to Pasadena, I'll take that. Notre Dame, if I'm Oregon, I'll take that. Like who can beat this team? I think Ohio State's the only one that could really beat them. And then you not see them.
Yeah, I think Darth Ducky rightly points out though, you're talking 3 to 4 games minimum, and you got to win them all. And you can trip up in any one of them.
Hence why I don't understand why John Wilner wants them to lose this freaking game.
That is a terrible thing. I don't even know why that gets put out there.
Why did you even see that?
That man is lost without the Pac-12 to talk about.
God, I mean, I'll say this. Like, so let's say they lose, they get the 5 seed, they end up playing like, let's say it's Iowa State. Could end up being Indiana.
Yeah.
But let's say it is Arizona State. So you play Arizona State, you beat them. Now you're traveling to, say, the 4 seed, Clemson, or Boise. You want to play Boise State again? If you're Oregon, you really want to play Boise State again? You gave up 200 yards rushing to Genty. And the only reason why you won is because your special teams are much faster than Boise's. And I don't think Boise's going to punt the ball or kick the ball to your guys. So I don't know if I want to do that.
Yep. I think sounds like we are all taking a close one, though. And PSU Jim, whoever goes, hope the Big Ten goes deep. Maybe they play again for the Natty. I'm assuming he means 2 teams playing for it. Certainly a good feather in the cap to lock the SEC out of the championship, but we will see. I think it's the most wide open playoff field I could have imagined going into the season.
The worst playoff field I've ever seen.
Only because Oregon's number 1, right?
No. I think last year's Oregon team would win the national title this year. I think Georgia's team last year would win the national title this year. I think Florida State's team last year would win the national title this year. Like
possibly.
Alabama's team last year would have won the national title this year. Like, you can go down the list. I think this is a down year for college football overall. But, there's not a huge, like, it's Oregon and everybody else, but that gap is not big, guys. Like, it's like I was saying, we don't have a Georgia from 2022 hanging out that would win 59-7 or whatever it was, 66-7 or whatever it was in a national title game. That doesn't exist.
Indeed. But that is this year, or that was last year. This is this year. And I think the portal has giveth and taketh away to kind of even the playing field. So go ahead and give your final call as it stands for the game. Becky, go first.
Well, I'll just say it like Sam Kim said it. If Penn State gets down there, I don't know if they can come back. They have to have the lead. They're not built to come back. They have to have that lead. So
this doesn't have to be an official prediction, but give us a ballpark or what you think.
Oh no! Honestly, I think it's a 20-17 kind of ball game. Truthfully, but I mean, I could see 13-10. Whoever has the ball last is going to win the game. So
okay,
say that.
Moen, you got an official score brewing around?
27-24. It's a pick 'em as far as I'm concerned. Either team could be on the winning and losing end of that. So it'll be. I want a close game. I want a great game. I just want a great game.
I'm going to go 31-27 Penn State.
Okay.
I think some wonky plays happen to allow some scoring. So happy to be wrong. I think it's cool that both teams, win or lose, will make the playoff, and we'll have 4 teams in the field. So that's a good accolade for the Big Ten. But Becky, what is your one for the road, football or otherwise, heading into the championship week?
One for the road. I'm just going to say it out loud. The Big Ten, the University of Washington, every single member of their team, every single fall sports team is in the postseason. Every single one of them. This is why the Big Ten expanded. USC, UCLA, Oregon, and Washington. They expanded and added these schools because they make the conference better and they represent the conference athletically, nationally. They're all really, really tough teams. They're all really good teams. They make this conference better. And it shows with the first of the fall sports. Now, winter sports, we have basketball, and then most of the sports like Washington and that like don't participate in, like hockey. But I am slowly learning that wrestlers are really awesome, and hockey is a great sport to watch. Yes.
Yep. Absolutely. Moen, what is your one for the road?
Tune in tomorrow for the Big 12 Mafia Show at 8 p.m.
Yep.
And hashtag fire Ryan Day.
Should have fired him after that timeout fiasco.
When you've lost the King of Ohio, it's only a matter of time, Ryan Day. No one's on your side anymore. My one for the road is the Fightin' Sumner Spartans of Sumner, Washington, of which I am an alumni. They come back in overtime to beat Kewanna. They are playing in Husky Stadium on Saturday for the 4A state championship. And my nephew is the backup center and long snapper on that team. So for the first time since 2009, because I'm a bad Husky fan, I will likely be going to Husky Stadium to watch a football game, and it will be the 4A state championship. Hopefully my my alma mater and nephew get to host the title. So looking forward to that.
Who are they playing?
Oh, shoot. I think Camas, I want to say. They're a team from down Portland, Vancouver area on the Washington side. So
I didn't check the 3A schedule, which is where all the like studs are in the state.
Yeah.
Football. But I have a feeling it's like O'Day and probably Eastside Catholic again.
Yep. Sumner doesn't have any of the big time flashy recruits. They got some 3-star kids going to FCS and G5 level teams, but they've only lost one game all year, and it was to the top ranked team in Oregon. That was in the preseason that isn't a preseason. So that'd be exciting. It'd be awesome to see my nephew and all them host the title. So got some high school action to look forward to, and the Big Ten championship after that. So for myself, Becky Moe, and everyone here at College Football Mafia, we will see you next Monday, and have a good week.
Oh!